Hello there, and welcome to our video about Six Seasons
and a Movie.
Give me some more time and a dream.
Welcome all, and all are welcome, because here at Greendale Community College, you're already accepted. God, I fucking love coffee. And I love Community. Yes, Community. One of the greatest shows of all time. It is my favorite show, and it is my favorite show of all time. And it's kind of fucked up that I just never brought it up on this channel before. You think it would have happened sooner? But you know what though? Today is the day. Any Community fan worth their salt will tell you that hashtag in a movie has been a battle cry for the last 8 years since the show went off the air. Our good friend Abed Nadir had prophesized that the cataloged events of the Greendale 7 would be chronicled to 6 seasons and a movie.
Seasons and a movie!
This was initially brought up in season 2, and it would be continued to be brought up a few more times throughout the show's run, even the screen displaying hashtag and a movie at the end of one of the episodes. And it's finally happening, or at least I hope. I don't know how much the SAG strike has an effect on this, but the movie was supposed to be filming this month in August. Either way, we're finally getting hashtag in a movie, and the Greendale 7 are returning, that is for sure. Well, almost the Greendale 7, and that is what I want to talk about today, is to how do we address one Pierce Hawthorne. As you may already know, everybody's favorite washed-up heir to a moist towelette empire was portrayed by none other than Chevy Chase. And boy, did the cast and crew have a hard time working with Chevy Chase, and that is something that is known. He had said some nasty shit to Donald Glover. He exchanged some poor words with show creator and head writer Dan Harmon, and there was a falling out of sorts, and he left the show. But with something as important as hashtag in a movie, we can't just exclude Pierce completely, right? In a decent world, not a perfect world, but in a decent world, maybe grown-ups can get together, exchange the necessary apologies, pay forward their necessary forgiveness, and work towards a greater cause to realize that they had a chance to be on one of the greatest American television sitcoms of all time. And this movie should be a celebration of their shared success. In a decent world, this can happen, and, well, how would you go about doing that? Because, after all, he's fucking dead! He fucking died! He's dead. Wrapped up in Energon Pod. Yes, Pierce Hawthorne did die in the show's canon, and not even in the fucking gas leak year. So you know that was definitely a purposed Dan Harmon effect. However though, Pierce post-mortem still played a role in the show, especially in the funeral episode, which is probably one of the greatest episodes ever written in the show's history. And yes, we can't ignore the fact that Pierce had died. So if you were to bring Chevy Chase back to reprise his role as Pierce Hawthorne, well, here's a couple things you could do. He could be a ghost. You can bring back the hologram from season 5. He could appear in Jeff Winger's dream. Don't know why I picked Jeff, it just seemed appropriate. Or you can do what they did in El Camino with Jesse Pinkman and Walter White and just simply do a flashback scene, but it has been some time, and there have been some significant changes with the cast. I mean, you'd have to use the aging technology. Man. Now, here's my idea. I say, just bring him back from the dead altogether. Fuck it. If you could bring back Pierce Hawthorne, why not just do it fresh? And the best way to do that is to just simply explain he never fucking died to begin with. Now, despite him having that weird Laser Lotus cult religion that he was following, in which, yes, they did confirm that his body was in the casket and then his vapor was in the Energon Pod. So they did see a dead body. But Pierce Hawthorne is also a man of means, and a man who has proven in the past that he will go far to play a bit or to work an angle. I know this seems like a little bit of a stretch, but hear me now. Let's just say that this Laser Lotus cult offered to make him a level 10 Laser Lotus. And in this religion, if a level 10 has to live on a private island and give up the life they once knew, Now, they don't necessarily maybe have to off themselves or let their loved ones believe they're dead, but they're basically saying goodbye to the life they once had. You know Pierce, he takes things to the extreme. So he goes ahead and enlists the help of, a doctor or whatever, gets the right kind of drugs to basically be as close to dead as you could possibly be while still being alive, right? And before you go ahead and say, hey, that's a little far-fetched for Community, just keep in mind, Chang ran to school dressed as fucking Napoleon. It was like one of the biggest arcs in the show's history. Yes, it can get that absurd. Now, why would Pierce be back? Well, Pierce being Pierce, he gets kicked off the fucking island. They basically had enough of this shit, and they're like, you know what? We're done. We're done with you. Now, if he were to be one of the main plot points, maybe it could be that he's looking to have one more class with his friends, have that one last hurrah. Hell, maybe he could be dying for real this time. There's a number of ways you could work it. But if they were to do something that crazy, again, in a decent world where we could have the full Greendale 7 return, and I'm sure I'm not the only fan who feels this way, and yes, I'm not saying I condone or support or advocate Chevy Chase and his actions or anything like that, but separating the man from the character, looking at how important this show was to pop culture, to American comedy television, and putting all those things aside for the greater cause and for the fans, I think that there's a lot of people who would love to see Pierce Hawthorne make a return in some way if it was at all doable and agreeable amongst Chevy Chase himself and the rest of the cast and crew. Fucking flying here, Jesus. At minimum, I do expect that Dan Harmon will probably mention him in some way. I'm sure that there'll at least at minimum be a mention. I'm sure his name will be brought up because you cannot have the final fruition of 6 seasons and a movie.
6 seasons and a movie!
Without having any kind of homage to Pierce. Well, that's all I have for today. Nothing important, nothing really that crazy, nothing that's going to alter your life in any way, but you know what? Just a fun thought, and it's just nice to share. If you sat through this far, I want to say thank you to my fellow Greendale human beings. Go Greendale, go Greendale, go!